welcome to the,
Who's Kim?
all right, we'll give Kim just a minute.
I think she went to get some report or something you were interested in.
Phew. Holy moly.
Okay. So that's the same as that.
I can give those guys Yes, I can give those guys an agenda.
Dennis, I would think you could move ahead with the salute to the flag while Ken's out here.
Okay, call the order of the Warrant and Finance Committee meeting for March 1st, 2021. Time is 6:03. The first on the agenda is to salute the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Go Canada.
This is before we get into our agenda, while we're waiting for Kim. The town administrator, I think she called me or emailed me or something. And it's just a friendly reminder that any questions that this committee has that needs to go through Michelle or anybody else up here, I guess, please email me those questions and I'll email them to Jennifer. I told her I'd speak about that tonight and everything else. Since our last meeting, I guess it's the same how we left it at our last meeting. And with permission, I'll move on a little farther, because Kim doesn't have to do this. Our budget, I met with the school last week. I told the school committee that if the school committee voted on the warrant articles on March 11th, providing the committee was going to go along with this, we would be hopefully voting on the warrant articles the same night. There isn't really a heck of a lot of difference in what they were doing last year to this year. John is planning on, well, he is budgeting for school next year to have all the kids back, and hopefully that's how it works. The budget is, hopefully if somebody hasn't gotten it, Kim Oliver has sent it out to everybody, the explanations and stuff. And if anybody has any concerns, please email Kim Oliver or John Ross if you have any questions, so that they can have the answers for us on the 11th. It would be much appreciated. But it would be nice to be able to get this out of it behind us. Tom?
Quick question on this time frame. Are we going to have a warrant before that meeting takes place, a copy of the warrant? My question is, obviously, if we have a warrant ahead of time, you have some time to look at it, work with it. If we don't have it, and they're gonna present us with a warrant and vote on it at the same time, that's a little different scenario to be dealing with.
Well, we're talking about the school right now, Kim.
Okay.
the state, due to COVID, and hopefully I'm saying this right, there was an opportunity last year with the voting restrictions for the school departments to put one article out for the total cost, up or down. They did not do that last year, as you know. Things are still up in the air. I think the selectmen have pretty much decided that we're not gonna have a town meeting in April, and the June town meeting is kind of up in the air, at least that's how I've been taking it.
If anything changes.
Oh, everything changes.
I know, I mean,
I do know the CDC saying that, hopefully,
Right.
by the end of April, there's gonna be a lot more restrictions lifted.
that's what I had heard too. So,
Well, I had talked to them last week, and that's what they said, being positive about the whole thing, because of whether they're coming out with the shots and stuff. So the school committee's not completely sure yet, Tom, which way they're going to go, if they're gonna do it like we've normally done it. They really wanted to have an April town meeting, but that doesn't look like that's gonna happen. And I think they're gonna be working with the town clerk and the selectmen to find out what avenue they wanna take.
Okay, then let me just voice one concern, and perhaps you can regard it as an objection. If we're going to be presented with the warrant that's going to be voted on a night that if that's the first time we see it, that's not a good situation for us to be in.
No, I agree.
If they give us a copy of the warrant before that meeting takes place, where we meet with the school committee, I don't have a problem, dealing with that issue.
But we have people going to their meetings, every meeting they have on the budget, there's at least one or two people from this committee in attendance asking questions at the meeting, which is so that we're not looking at, a whole pack of paper to weed through in one evening. We're taking it in bite-sized pieces where we can ask the questions that are the obvious ones to us. And I would say 95% of the time, they have the answers sitting in that room, and so you get your answer right away. Once in a while, somebody says, well, I'll have to get back to you on that, but, so I don't think it's, I think this is a more efficient process, the way they're doing it. And in the few years that I've been going to those meetings, I don't think it's presented a problem for us as a committee.
My response to that is I don't have a problem with the budget process down there. I think it's a really good budgeting process. My concern has been, continues to be with the warrant itself.
The actual wording, Tom.
Presented.
The actual wording.
The actual wording of the warrant.
Right. So what I'll do, Tom, go ahead, Virginia.
I'm just thinking, if your issues concerning the wording of the warrant haven't been resolved in the 3 or 4 years that I've been doing it, I'd say it's not going to. So with the way it's been, if that's the way it's going to continue, then I don't want to be fighting about that every year. It's counterproductive.
And I agree with what Virginia is saying, and I understand her perspective, but in Tom's perspective, everybody on this committee has the right and the opportunity to question anything that's put forward, and sometimes when you want a change, and sometimes when that change is not really acknowledged, you have to keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back, just like everything in life. And what I'm going to do, Tom, is I am going to get a hold of Kim Oliver and find out when the warrant article is going to be written, and hopefully you'll be able to follow through with any questions directly with her or John Ross. And if you want, and I shouldn't put this out there because my grandchildren have worked very hard with me, so I am because of them. If you go on the town website and you scroll down to APAT, which is our TV station, you can sit and watch the explanations and stuff like that for the actual warrant articles, Tom. So that at least you'll have an advantage when it comes to that. You know what they're talking about, and you know what your concerns are, and I would encourage you to notify Kim.
Like me to talk directly with Kim about it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah, no, we're going directly to the school with this stuff. Or you can do John, I mean, Kim, I don't know. I know Kim's very accommodating, and in her world is the numbers, you know what I mean, so.
Again, it's not usually the numbers that concern me, but.
Yeah, well, maybe you need to talk to both of them. Start out with John, and he might say, talk to Kim. You know, I don't know, Tom. Is that all right?
That's fine. Right now, we can't resolve it right now anyway.
Right.
The major question is, are we gonna have a copy of the warrant before the meeting occurs? And it could be that we're sitting here talking about something that's not even an issue, so I don't think it bears for that conversation right now.
But I'll have a conversation with Kim and John tomorrow, and I'll send you an email, Tom.
Okay.
And let you know how it makes out.
Thank you.
Going backwards just a little bit, Virginia had gotten a hold of me and wanted me to address some concerns that she had about our policies and procedures at our last meeting. I didn't really understand completely what she was talking about, so I decided to wait, and I think I said it at the meeting that we could amend the policies at our next meeting if we wanted to. Our procedures and policies is I work under the directive of the committee.
Can I make some comments?
Go ahead.
I wasn't invited to the last meeting, which kind of illegal. Now, I guess we got some amendments you want to do to our policy now. I really want to emphasize last year, you took it upon yourself, and evidently one other member, I'm not going to say who it was, that wanted to be able to get a hold of MMA and to do our procedure to see if we could basically get more power for the Warrant and Finance Committee. And I was not informed, the committee was not informed, but you said the committee wanted you to be able to get a hold of, have the selectmen okay you to get a hold of MMA. I'm not happy at all. 3 meetings we had last year. All you wanted to do was play with a policy for 3 meetings. I got to vote once on the dam down there, and then it was basically back to policy again, and this here, I would like to make a motion. Is this paper, ordinance to amend act and article? I know there was a comment made about being stuffed down our throat on the dam. I want to know if this is going to be stuffed down our throat.
I don't know what you meant, David.
3 days, 3 meetings, I should say, not days.
Respect.
3 meetings, we played with policy.
Okay.
And we did absolutely nothing but try to get more power for you. Now, I'm just about sick of it, because I want to come up here and take the warrants that the selectmen give us, that's their job, and then we work off from that. Now, if I'm wrong, tell me.
Okay. Our last meeting that you said that you weren't notified about,
There's got to be a good excuse there, because you told me before, with this other thing, you told me, yes, of course,
all right?
you're in order, right?
Stop interrupting. The last meeting, it was advertised at a selectmen's meeting, that we're gonna have a Warrant and Finance Committee. Jennifer Rue put it on the town's website. I I sent an email out to everybody, and I have already been called out by the selectmen because I pushed the wrong number on the keyboard and I advertised it for February instead of January. Okay, that's my mistake, and I apologize to everybody. I did it at the last meeting, I did it at the selectmen's meeting. Then when you get to these policies, this is not Dennis Long's policy. This is the committee's policy. The committee decided whether it was a unanimous vote or not. The majority of the committee decided that this is how they wanted the committee to operate, okay?
This has been voted on?
Let me finish, please. There was pushback from the selectmen, so I asked the selectmen to ask MMA if what we're doing was legal. Okay, MMA said yes, that the Warrant and Finance Committee by ordinance is accountable to the town meeting. And if the town meeting does not like the way the Warrant and Finance Committee are operating, it's up to them to elect different members. That's the legal part of it. Now, I thought that this was adopted last year, but talking to Virginia, and she's 100% right, we didn't finish it, because when we said we was gonna adopt it, and then Virginia was going to go back and look at some concerns and come up with some concerns, and she's gonna bring them back to the board, and then we got shut down by COVID. So these have not been officially adopted. At our last meeting, yes, we did adopt these. But then Virginia got a hold of me and she had a few concerns that I couldn't deliberate on her behalf because I didn't completely understand what she was talking about. And Virginia and I had this conversation. So she sent out all the concerns, I believe there was 4 of them, to all the committee, and for all the committee to see, so everybody could look at what her concerns were. And if she wants to change what's right here, right now, and if this committee goes along with what she wants to change, I'm fine with this. All this does is tell me how to operate a meeting. That's all it does.
So who wrote this?
Who wrote this? We all?
Committee? The committee wrote this?
What is it?
Yeah.
On the amendments.
What amendments?
What amendment?
All of this is illegal tonight anyway, because I wasn't here, I wasn't invited to the meeting, so it made it
I called
illegal
you,
to start
David.
with.
I called you.
Tonight, yes, it's the last
Last
meeting.
night.
The last meeting. Evidently, you guys voted this in. It is not legal.
Well,
I think he just explained it. He said February when he should have said, he said
It don't
January.
matter, he
It was
can
a
play with
mistake.
any numbers he wants, but he did not call me, and he knows he's supposed to call me. I don't play on the computer.
where's it say it in here?
What did you, oh no, don't back it right up, Dennis.
was it
It's just the same thing as 2 of you guys started for MMA, and that because the committee wanted you to, and the committee did not ask you to go to MMA. You even told me that. You told me, quote words, that was before you was elected. That was you and Tom, quote. You quoted, I'm gonna quote you right now.
David, can I
I
interject
don't
something?
know.
A couple of times, or it might have been pieces of 2 or 3 meetings going into the past year, where we started talking about policies and procedures, and Ani provided an abbreviated copy of the Robert's Rules of Order, and Dennis was looking at a mission statement and made extracts from the mission statement that the school department uses very successfully. And in those meetings that we were talking, we, little by little, everybody started pitching in, well, how about this and how about that? And that's how this came to be where it is now, in the shape that it's in now, and the wording. And then, over time, for myself, I was looking at it, and then I started looking at the Warrant and Finance Town Ordinance that created this committee. And my thought was, the town ordinance is the foundation for this committee to operate. So, that said, we should not have anything in our policy or procedures that is contrary or oversteps any limits that are put in already into the town ordinance, unless we first go back and get the town ordinance amended, if that's agreeable to the powers that be. So, having looked at it from that point of view, I think the first thing that struck me is on the standard operating procedures page, it's like page 3, the second item says, "The committee shall set its own agenda." The more I read that, and actually said it out loud to myself, I was thinking, my perception is, oh, it's our way or the highway. And on the first page of the mission, we talked about cooperating with other people, getting everybody's opinion, and it just doesn't wash. One line said something to me is just the opposite of what's on the first page. So I started going through and rereading it several different times and making notes. And that's when, in the last month or so, I talked to Dennis and I said, you know, there's a couple of things I think we ought to look at, that I have some questions about. So I had sent him an email, and then, as he said, it didn't all make sense to him, so he said, you weren't there, so I just delayed it. So, okay, so that's why we're here tonight, at least that's my understanding, this was gonna be the only topic. And we definitely wanted Kim here, because, number one, she's on the Board of Selectmen, and secondly, she's our liaison to that board. So, I view her liaison position is the one that, when she's here, we should be hopefully able to get some immediate answers to some questions that we might have. We don't always have to wait for a Board of Selectmen's meeting or go through other channels to get those answers, that she can provide guidance, her point of view, or the point of view listed by her as to where the Board of Selectmen stand on given issues. So that's why I wanted her here tonight. So, that said, I can go through other little, some of its cosmetic notes and just other things that maybe we could reword, or maybe not.
Go ahead, Virginia.
If you want, I'll just...
Sure, that was my
keep going.
intention,
Yeah.
to have you present what you thought and,
Just-
to the committee.
Let's, on the Warrant and Finance ordinance, Kim, there's one point here, and it's probably just a typo. On the second page, on G, it says, "The committee shall be called by the chairman, or by the vice chairman in the chairman's absence, or by the selectman." I think it probably should say, "Committee meeting shall be called."
Yeah, that sounds.
So it's just, when this is, if you're ever fixing it, you could just, okay?
Do you want,
Yeah.
do you want to just do one and have the conversation, Virginia, or would you rather state all four of you?
We can question each one as I go
I
along.
think it'd be easier
Yeah.
for you to,
Sure.
I mean, if you're talking about the town ordinance,
Yeah.
you know, this can only be changed by town meeting. We can't change any of this, any wording in here.
Right, but I think it's, I might be wrong, it's the Board of Selectmen that we go through, and it would be the board that would go to the
Well,
town.
I'm just saying that we can't change
Oh, no,
this.
no.
It would have to be a warrant article. and-
Yeah, but I figure at some point, there'll be some modifications.
No, but that's, you guys,
So,
you know, that,
yeah.
then we talked before, and see where everything's
Okay,
citing words.
so that was,
Do you have another,
That was a copy of
yeah.
yeah, you want that? I can have this.
just so I can underline?
Do you have one, Tom?
Yeah, yep.
That's G.
I'm sorry, Kim, I should have given it.
Okay, that's mine. Okay.
What was that one again, the one you were just talking
It
about?
was
What was the letter?
on page G, letter
It
G.
was G.
It says the committee shall be called. I think it should be committee meetings shall be called. Yeah. It's a typo. No big deal. On the mission statement,
I'm sorry, guys, I didn't bring that tonight, but go ahead, Virginia.
it seems like the second one
I was running behind tonight.
and the fourth one are very similar.
Could you read those for the record, Virginia?
Number 2 says, "We will strive to be responsible for examining all points of view and acting in the best interest of the town meeting at all times to the best of our ability."
You have a different mission statement than I have.
This is dated 2/24/20.
Same thing.
What does yours say?
Second line,
The second paragraph?
there is no well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 statements on the mission statement.
Mine has 5.
Oh, goodness. That's not good.
Mine has 5 paragraphs on the first page.
Ernie, what do you have? I guess I messed something up somehow, somewhere.
Well, it might not be you.
I don't think.
Does that say adopted 2-20-21? No, it doesn't. Your copy, Virginia, would not
Mine does
say.
not say adopted, mine's a draft.
This has 6 mission statements. This has 6 mission statements on it. And this is the document that we adopted at the last meeting. Document we were.
Could you give that to Virginia, just so she can look and see what happened?
Those were the ones, weren't those the ones from the school?
Basically, they are the same as,
They're very similar.
We just changed some wording.
Okay, there are couple of changes.
So we might have added one to ours, Virginia.
No, I think the one you adopted is shortened by a couple of words. Okay, so skip that.
And I might have given you the wrong one last year, I don't know. If I did, I apologize.
Okay, moving on to the second page under the heading intent. Is there more than just this?
Well, I mean, that's my copy.
The one that you adopted, or that we adopted, is there one that's has a heading that says intent to develop policies and procedures and rules for Warrant and Finance Committee?
I think I gave all my things out tonight. I had Virginia. Yeah, I did. I don't have the one that we did at our last meeting.
That was,
This is the one I'm looking at.
That's right. This
Yeah, it's a
is-
draft, I
yeah.
know.
This is what Carol actually sent. And operating procedures, purpose, rules,
Did she take this out?
this is it.
Okay.
you can have that.
All right. Looking at the one that was adopted, on the second page, it says standard operating procedures. The second paragraph says the committee shall set its own agenda, coordinated by the chair. Given that the town ordinance says we are an advisory body only, I don't know that we are self-governing or can totally set our own agenda. I think when the Board of Selectmen comes to us with warrants to look at, that's what, to me, really triggers the reason we exist, and that's when our timeline really starts to roll with critical dates. So I'm not sure that we have the authority to give ourselves permission to set our own agenda in total. Would you mind?
Go ahead, Ani.
The end of the ordinance.
Yeah.
The ordinance reads, "The committee may adopt other policies, procedures, and rules by which to govern itself that are not inconsistent with this ordinance."
Okay, which I said earlier, that we couldn't be in conflict with the ordinance.
No, I agree.
Okay.
Tom?
Yes, I'd just like to make one clarification, and it may be a misunderstanding on your part, Virginia, but that ordinance did not create this committee. This committee's been in existence for over 100 years in this town. It was adopted by the town meeting, I agree. But the other part that governs how this committee functions is past precedent, okay? So, and we can go further into that, but this was not a new committee.
I never said it was a new committee.
Okay, my apologies then, I misunderstood. You used the term created, the ordinance that created the committee. My point is, it wasn't created by the ordinance. It's been in existence for many, many years, and there's a lot of past precedent that's been established in that process.
Okay, I agree with that.
However, the Warrant and Finance Committee is governed by the town ordinance, which specifically sets out the duties for the Warrant and Finance Committee. Okay, that's not to say that Warrant and Finance can't set an agenda. I disagree with Virginia in regard to us not being able to set an agenda. An agenda is nothing more than this is what's going to take place during this meeting. Bing, 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 bing. That's it. Nothing else. Okay?
This
Can
doesn't
be-
say for a meeting agenda, it just says an agenda, which is a very broad term.
I understand. We can always
maybe it could
add,
just
we
be-
can always add a word in front of that word of agenda saying a meeting.
Yeah, it would have, I
And
think
that
it would have a whole different perception.
So, I mean, you know, the Board of Selectmen have an agenda every week, which isn't necessarily their agenda.
Right.
It's an agenda that's provided to them most of the time by the town administrator. But, you know, I mean, the Warrant and Finance Committee should be able to set an agenda for their meeting.
Yes,
Okay?
yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I mean, that's just another word, a way to restate this statement. The committee may adopt policies, procedures, and rules to which to govern itself. It can set an agenda, it can set a Christmas party, it can do anything it wants,
Maybe
as
there's,
long as it doesn't go against what it says here on these pages.
maybe there's too much information in that. And what I mean by that, we also voted to adopt or operate under Robert's rules. And under Robert's rules, the chair does set the agenda, and the chair does call for the meetings, and so maybe there's, maybe there's too much information there, Virginia. Maybe we ought to just say we're gonna operate under Robert's rules and do away with all the rest of it completely.
Yeah, it's an option.
Tom?
I think the real question we're addressing here is not the ability of the committee to set an agenda, but deciding what can be discussed in the committee. That's where the item has come up, and that has been the concern in the past. So that's the question, that if we explore this in further detail, that's what we need to do. Going back to precedent, this committee has broad perspective on all the finances of the town, historically, by precedent. Okay? And unless a warrant says you do not have the authority to do this, we have it by precedent.
I guess I'm not understanding when you say what we can discuss. Are we limited? Is that what you're telling me?
I say no.
I'm saying no, too.
Oh, okay.
What if I may, Virginia, before you move on? I think it is this committee's authority and responsibility if there's something that's going to be coming before the town that's gonna cost money, that this committee ought to be able to call in, and I'm not talking just about town employees, I'm talking about anybody, to gather all the information, the pros and the cons, and costs and all that, so that we can make an informed decision to the town meeting. You know, and I'm not talking about micromanaging things, I'm just talking about anything that's costing us money, because the bottom line is, as far as I'm concerned, we are advisors, but we're advisors to the town meeting. If the school board or road commissioners or the board of selectmen want to consider our advice, that's up to them, but they're obviously at no obligation to. And I guess what I would do myself, and you guys all do what you want. You guys got us this far. And I appreciate what the concerns that you pointed out. Maybe we ought to eliminate the whole thing and just do a policy that we operate under Robert's rules, and it's very simple and cut and dry, and understanding that what we do tonight is not binding to what happens a year from now, because the committee can make their own procedures however they want according to the ordinance.
You know, to digress a little, recalling last year, there was, to put it bluntly, there was backlash from the Board of Selectmen of interviews that you wanted to set up with department managers.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I totally understand why that was or agree with it, but in thinking about it, the committee does have liaisons to
Yep.
most of the other committees. So
Good.
why would that not be the conduit for satisfying what you wanted to do
Yes, I'm fine
versus
with
what
that.
the Board of Selectmen apparently didn't
fine
want you
with
to do?
I mean, because they said we couldn't, and then, so we didn't. I mean, so, I'm fine with
So
it.
if we have a liaison to, and I don't even personally think that we need a liaison to every committee, but the major ones that hit the big ticket items on the budget every year, I think probably need more coordination than some of the smaller committees.
What we did this year is we did the 2 road commissioners, we did the fire department, we did the school department.
Rec.
Yeah, I think, the transfer station and this part of the government. We didn't do all the rest of the committees and stuff.
So, you know, that may save everybody some time, just
Yeah.
better use of the liaisons.
Yeah, I agree. And when
I'm guessing, and Tim would know better, that the board perhaps didn't want the department managers taking up more time going over numbers that they've already fine-tuned anyway, at least they feel they did.
Well, the thing
And then
is,
they're gonna come before the Warrant and Finance Committee at some point in the review process,
right.
so,
Well, my intention was for us to hear what the department heads asked for,
I understand that.
okay? And what we got was what the selectmen said they could have. And that's 2 different things.
Yeah,
And so what I wanted for clarity throughout the town was for everybody to understand everybody's perspective on where they were coming from.
Okay.
That was my whole purpose. It wasn't, for me anyway, it wasn't undermining the Board of Selectmen, or it wasn't undermining anybody. It was just for everything to be out there and be transparent. Because I think as a fire chief, or a school department, or the road commissioners, I think what they want should be told to the people, and let the people decide if they want to give them that, or if they want to give them a little bit less, or give them a little bit more.
Yep.
Kim,
Did you get that from the school committee?
what's that, Kim?
Like, with their budget?
Yeah.
Okay, when you're listening to them, do you know what maybe was asked and what they got?
Yeah, they have the conversation.
I didn't know.
Yeah,
It's a very, very informative meeting.
I mean, it's them, I didn't know.
No, it's very, very informative. They have everything laid out, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, they do a good job.
And they give you last year's numbers as well, so you
Yes.
can say, okay,
Yeah.
now you want 50,000, last year you were happy with 40,000, what are you gonna do with the extra 10?
and when you ask these
Like
committees,
you said, you have the liaisons, which is a good way to,
yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
utilize them.
and the liaisons can report back to us. But, you know, I have to say, before we go any farther, you know, people make mistakes. You know, we're all human. And sometimes information is supposed to get out there that doesn't get put out there because somebody forgets about it. And I'm gonna give you a perfect example. Last week's selectmen's meeting. You guys went over the selectmen went over the schedule for Saturday. For Saturday's meeting with the Warrant and Finance Committee, and the different departments were gonna come in and whatever. And that information was gonna be sent to the chair the next day with a phone call or an email. That was said at the meeting.
It was.
I checked at 5 o'clock tonight, and I still haven't got anything. Okay? Now, this is by no means a criticism.
No, just,
And I want to make sure that we don't have a big thing at the selectmen's meeting saying that Dennis was criticizing, because I'm not. All I'm saying is, everybody's human. We can still have the meeting Saturday, just like we planned, and find out when we get there. But I was planning on saying tonight what the timeframes were. But I can't, and that's fine.
I didn't bring my,
And you see what I'm saying, Kim? You know, and like I said, I'm not criticizing anybody. People are only human, and they do make mistakes, and they do misinterpret sometimes what's in front of them. Go ahead, Virginia, I'm sorry, I digressed a little bit.
That's all right. The other item that stands out to me, and I mentioned this to you on the phone call, was that at least in the corporate world, if you put out policies and procedures, there's a signature page that lends considerable authenticity and validity to the document. And so I had called the town clerk and asked her about the formatting, which you and I talked about. So she said, why don't you take a look at, she said, well, the personnel policy comes to mind. She said, you'll see the signature page and the last paragraph that says this is basically in full force and effect until it's replaced, and it gives either the word was adopted date or enacted. I've seen both names, both words used, I don't know that it matters. And then it follows with the notation as to every time it was amended.
Sure.
I think we ought to attach a similar page to this document and leave the Robert's Rules of Order as the last page as an appendix or an attachment, because that's not something we authored. So the signature page should be at the end of what this committee authored. That's all.
Don?
The only comment I would make with respect to that, Virginia, is you have to remember that that policy expires at the end of the year, okay? It's null and void. Every year, a new committee forms, and every year, there are no policies carried over unless the new committee votes to adopt the policy.
Where does it say that? I don't,
That's not true. The town has a personnel policy, and that is not amended every year. It is not brought forward and voted upon every year. And that's not the only policy that the town has. So what you just said is not exactly accurate, Tom.
Well, I'm going to leave it right there for now, but if you understand the rules of how the town meeting works, the town meeting form of government works, you understand that all of policies and all the appointments of any committee that exists for 1 year expire at the end of the year. And new appointments and new policies have to be adopted the next year, otherwise they don't exist in law. That's all.
Well, whether I agree or disagree with that, when they expire, I still think it would be proper and desirable to have a signature page.
Okay, well, I'm
Yeah, I know.
backfilling.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion.
Go ahead.
I would like to make a motion that we withhold adoption of the policies and procedures that we previously were working on until such time as they have been corrected so that they can be put forward and actually voted upon. In other words, Virginia wants to make a change to paragraph 2. Number 1, let's add the word meeting in front of agenda. That'll take care of that, right, Virginia?
I think so.
Okay. There's also another point in Virginia's notes that if you're using an abbreviation, NNA, BOS, not everybody and their brother knows what MNA is. Maine Municipal and BOS, obviously Board of Selectmen. If you put them in parentheses and spell out Board of Selectmen after BOS, you only got to do it once.
Right.
MMA, the same thing, Maine Municipal Authority. Let's make the changes to this document and then bring it back and then we can vote on it. That's my motion.
Second.
And we can also add the last paragraph that Virginia wanted to add as far as having it signed by the chair.
Second.
Oh, excuse me, one thing.
Now it's open for
Jennifer was pointing out to me about the signatures, and on the personnel policy, it's signed by each member of the Board of Selectmen. So hence her suggestion is, if, we have a policy and procedure, it should have all the names of the committee members and their signatures.
I'm fine with that, Virginia.
Yeah,
That's a good idea. I mean, then when we look back in years to come, I mean, we know who was on our committees and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we have it somewhere else, but I'm just saying.
And like I said before, at the last meeting, my whole purpose for wanting this is so that future committees could just look at it and they'll have some kind of a guideline to go by, rather than everybody going out in different directions, and if they want to throw the whole thing out, they can throw the whole thing out. Honey.
The previous speaker's motion, are you saying that we don't have any policies, stop all these policies now until we have new
We
policies written?
haven't, as far as I'm concerned, we have not officially adopted a policy or procedure.
We did last meeting.
I don't remember it.
Yeah, I do.
Well, it's there.
I do, I saw it on TV.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why she called me.
I'm not exactly a spring chicken, so, no. We need to amend this. We need to amend, if we adopted that policy and procedure, then we need to make an amendment to it, okay? And then vote on it. That was what my motion was trying to say.
And with that being said, I'll hold off. Anybody have anything else to say? David?
Just for clarification, I'm not real good on hearing, so I don't understand real good. Are you trying to basically table what you guys voted on?
Well, it's still going to stay in existence. What my hope is that Virginia will do up the paperwork with the changes that we talked about tonight and bring them back at our next meeting for signatures and adoption of signatures. Is that okay with you, Virginia?
I will give it a try.
Thank you. That's all the best, that's the most we can ask.
When's the next meeting?
Next meeting, I don't...
Saturday?
Yeah, I don't think we'll expect it for Saturday, but how about March 11th? We do have a meeting on March 11th. That's almost a week and a half to 2 weeks.
Now, that's not a Monday, is it?
That's Thursday, and that one will be at the school.
Okay.
And if you can't, you can't. We'll operate under the rules we're operating by right now, until we get this in front of us. Any more, David?
Still, have you voted on this yet, or what you're gonna do? Is this what you're trying to do, is just basically table this? It might be the wrong word to say. We're gonna go back to our policy, maintain the policy of the warrant, of the board.
Right now, we're gonna work under the policies and procedures that we adopted last month, or month before, our last meeting. Virginia is gonna take what, those concerns that she had, she's gonna implement them into our policies and procedures, and then we'll amend it and vote on it and sign it. Because it seems to me, right now, you haven't said too much, neither's Tucker, that everybody's basically in agreement with what these policies and procedures are. So I guess the last ones to hear from is you and Tucker.
I already got a motion on the table, which I should have done it right off to start with, but you guys already voted on that to amend the articles, and so I can't go back and say I would like to maintain the policies that we have in place without trying to amend another 3 meeting, just blow away. I just don't understand it.
There should be one meeting.
That's what I value my time a little bit more than sitting and arguing on amending articles, and that's all we've done. It's unbelievable.
Well, I sent out an email telling everybody what the meeting was about.
Exactly, yeah, and 'cause I didn't get that, of course, and...
I'm sorry you didn't
But your
read it.
meeting is gonna be
That went
what
to
it's
you.
gonna be.
And fact is, I'm not even getting into it, Jennifer also notified you. Tucker?
I appreciate the work that Virginia's been doing on it. As much as I'd like to put this to bed, I know there's still some changes that need to be made, that she's pointed out. There's nothing that stands out to me in this document, going through it, that I disagree with. Yeah, that's about all I got.
All right. Anybody got anything else?
I think we can move the question, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor of the motion?
What, wait a minute.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, the motion, I asked if he was doing away with it. I don't know if there was a change in this motion. What was your motion?
You weren't doing away with it,
I asked
so you're
last
wrong.
meeting if we would write them down so we'd know just what they were.
Right.
The motion, I don't think that he understood that we had adopted these last year, so...
Right, you're 100% right.
So, I mean, you either gonna make a motion to abolish these and go without any procedures going forward until they're amended. I don't know.
I withdraw my motion.
Thank you. Well,
And I'll make another motion.
go ahead. Well,
Make a motion that we operate under the rules or the policies and procedures that we
Have
voted
been.
on previously.
I believe I second that. I hope I'm saying it right.
Any more discussion?
That doesn't,
Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed?
Virginia, that doesn't preclude us amending.
I guess that makes that unanimous.
I didn't hear you.
Just a minute.
That does not preclude us. That does not preclude us amending these at some future meeting
No, it
whenever
does
you're ready
not.
to.
You know
Not
that.
at all.
No, you're right, Virginia, if you don't mind still doing what you're doing, and then we'll bring it forward.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, with respect to procedures, I have one amendment that I would like to make to a motion that was made and accepted at the last Warrant and Finance Committee meeting. I made a motion that we treat the tape of our Warrant and Finance Committee meetings as the official record of the committee. I would like to propose that in addition to that, or wait a minute, let me think this through. We should not act on recommendations for the warrant as presented to us by the selectmen on anything other than a written copy of what the motion is to be. And what I'm suggesting is that we amend the policy to the official record with respect to the official record, to reflect the fact that this committee will write down motions or recommendations prior to voting, and that those written records of the motions in particular, and just the motions, be also part of the official record, or be the official record.
Well, so what you're saying, Tom, is you want that above and beyond
Yeah.
the videos?
Yes, because-
Official actions, you want it in a written document?
It's very, just the motions themselves for the recommendations and the vote on it, because it's very difficult sometimes to sort out from the tape what people are talking about, unless we have something in writing that everybody can agree on, that we're voting on.
I agree, Tom, as chair, I can do that.
Okay, that's-
Anyway, and we'll do that.
All right. I made a motion, yeah, to do that.
Second.
Could you pass it to the chair so we can read it to everybody?
Sorry, I didn't read it. That's the problem.
We want them written down, and they're not
Yep.
written down. We want it.
Right.
Tom,
Write it down.
again, I said I would do that as a chair. Make sure that happened this year.
I will bring that in writing to our next meeting, along with Virginia, but, so, thank you.
Mr. Gore's motion is withdrawn. Anybody have anything else?
You gonna vote on that motion?
He withdrew it.
You withdrew the motion?
I'm gonna bring it in, on paper next time, so we all know what we're voting on.
Good.
We know what you want to do, though.
We have, we have as I spoke about earlier, we have a, Warrant Finance meeting scheduled with the school at 5 a.m. on March 11th,
5 a.m.
5 p.m. Thank you, Virginia, for correcting me on
Help
that,
me out.
because I would have been called out on it later, that's for darn sure. It is 5 p.m.
At the school, right?
at the school. We also have a meeting this Saturday, it starts at 9 a.m. That's where the AM was, the Saturday meeting. Normally it's 9 to 12, I don't know if it's scheduled for that late or not. The selectmen had said that maybe some departments might not need to come in for that meeting, so I don't, like I said, I don't know, I didn't get a follow-up with any of that.
I think it's mainly, forestry, cemetery, they didn't ask for anything.
Yeah.
So that was,
Yeah,
that.
yeah, well, no issues for me, Kim, I just,
No, just, I think that's the only two, but.
the other thing is, Saturday, is when we're presented everything, and we have to start meeting, setting up some meetings, to go over some of this stuff, and would the board want to meet, it'd be the following week, not the Monday after this Saturday, but a week from that Monday, and start our process, because we have like 5 or 6 weeks. Hopefully, we can get through everything and get it done.
What date are we talking about?
The actual date, I'm not sure. Artie's gonna get it for us. I left my flip phone out in the car.
What day you talking about?
A week, 2 weeks from today.
The 15th, March 15th.
Do you wanna meet before that? It'll be March 8th or something.
What are we gonna
Which is next
have
Monday.
to look at?
What the selectmen give us Saturday.
Okay. All right.
Or do you wanna have that discussion Saturday?
I think it's probably best if you wait until you see what you're gonna get on Saturday. Because I don't believe you're gonna get a whole lot.
Or you should have the whole thing.
No,
What do you mean, no?
no, I'll bet you don't.
What do you think? Are we gonna,
I get confidence in Michelle.
No, I'm glad you have confidence, Michelle.
I do. She's
shall
a
we
heck of a
decide
woman.
Saturday? See how that goes before we decide on March 15th?
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's fine with me. I just wanna know what the committee wants to do. You wanna wait till Saturday and make that decision? I would like to keep the meetings on Mondays if we can. If we have to pick up another night or whatever, then we do.
Yeah.
But, so far, my understanding from out there, the different departments have been, pretty responsive about stuff, and, I think it should be easy to do, because the liaisons can report back to the committee, what they found out and stuff. So,
I do hope that we can have a constructive dialogue and that things will be concise. No war stories that are gonna take half the morning,
well,
to be blunt, okay?
I'll try to keep my verbiage to a limit. And the only other thing, like I said, before, any information that's requested that needs to go through the town hall needs to be sent to me, and then I'll send it to the town administrator, and then I'll get it back to you guys.
Can I raise a question?
Yes, sir.
Last time, at our last meeting, we discussed how we were going to get expenditure records and that sort of thing, which was a problem last year. And we suggested, or you suggested, that we approach the individual officers and request that information through them, and that they would obtain it from the town and provide it to us. Do I understand now that what you're proposing here is a change, or do we continue with that policy or approach to getting that?
I'm gonna let Kim help me out here. It was a little confusing. My understanding was, how I explained it to the Board of Selectmen, what our intentions were, was you can go to your departments that your liaisons to and ask them any information you want. Michelle said she does give monthly expenditure reports to every department head, so any information you might want to have on finances and stuff, the department head would have it anyway. So there's no real sense in bothering Michelle with it, is what I'm saying. And if it's something that the department head can't get you for some reason, then you would notify me, and then I would go through the town administrator and we get it that way.
Okay.
I'm still having some conversations with Kim, because I have a lot of questions on the audit. I have some questions on the expenditures for this year. And I still believe, whether it'll happen or not, it's gonna be up to you guys, that you and I ought to be able to sit down with Michelle and go over these questions. Because quite often a question will lead to another question. You know what I mean? But that's something that we'll discuss chair to chair, and because this is where everything comes out of, is up here, and so it's a lot of money. And when you look at these expense sheets, so if you look at the audit, you really need to look at this audit, because it's it's very interesting, the amount of money that was left over in different departments last year, and also the amount of money that the town has as undesignated fund balance is over $2 million. And that's right out of the audit. So, we really need to look at what this stuff so that we can be informed and how we're gonna move forward in the future. I mean, I don't see how you can make financial recommendations unless you've seen the expenses for this year and seen what we ended up with money last year. It's a tax rate we're at and different things, especially where we're looking at the canal bridge. I don't know this, I assume that's gonna be a separate warrant article this year. And they're talking maybe trying to do something with, the Rodam Bridge. And maybe the selectmen, we want to take out a bond for stuff, or take the money out of the undesignated fund balance and not raise taxes because of it at all. But this, I think, is a discussion we have to have, and I would like to have everybody informed when we have this discussion with the Board of Selectmen. Anybody have anything else? Well, wait a minute.
One other thing, just to remind everybody, while we were talking about having meetings with the individual department heads before us, one of the purposes of that was to get a longer range picture also of where we were going, not just the budget we're working on right now, but the budget we might be looking at 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years ahead.
Well, we're not looking at limiting anybody's conversation with any departments. The town has, the selectmen have decided to have a capital improvement committee. It's just starting up, but I don't know how much they'd have ready for us in this budget.
Yeah, I don't think this budget.
You know.
Hoping to meet,
Yeah.
hoping next Wednesday. I've talked to everybody now, so, and then, like you said, 3, 5, 10 year, you know, for all the departments.
Oh.
See where we're at.
And one thing I do want to say, in the future, I am not calling people about meetings. It'll be announced at the selectmen's meeting, it'll be on the town's website, and you'll get an email through the webmail, the Warrant and Finance Committee. I'm not going to be, and this is just me, I am not going to be attacked from anybody on this committee because either I didn't do something or I forgot to do something. I don't have to do that. I started doing it to try to get everybody to remind everybody about the meeting so we all could be a positive thing. And I'm not going to put myself through it. And my family's been through enough, and I'm not going to do it anymore. Anything from the public? Joe, Nancy? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you Saturday, 9 o'clock here.